welcome to Triple T Thursday. That's tips, tricks, tutorials. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, and let me see if I can bring her in 3, 2, 1. Oh, there she is. Everyone give it up for Miss Angelique Stidhum. Woohoo!
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. You look beautiful, as always.
Oh,
And
so do you.
today
We all know
we are
that
going to
though.
be talking about building an online thriving community. And you were in the live last week, and then I saw you and I was like, hey, you need to come in here and talk about this with us because your online community, now I'm going to let you, of course, introduce yourself, but you and your husband have been doing YouTube live streams where sometimes there are a couple hundred people or more like in the chat and hanging out for hours talking about the most sexy thing you can talk about, which is personal finance. And so I thought no better person to come in and chat about all of that with us. So Angelique, for those of the people out there watching, do you want to introduce yourself and say hi and who are you?
Yeah, sure. My name's Angelique Stidhum. I have a marketing background, and I think that's probably where I pull from in terms of uh, researching things about the audience. My husband is a retirement planner, and back in years and years ago when he first had kind of leaped into this, it wasn't because he thought, you know what, I would love to do till my day's end talk about retirement. That was not what he wanted to do. It was he saw a problem and he saw a deficit and an opportunity to learn just to improve our situation. Then it became, oh, I can help others do this. But when it came to getting on YouTube or doing this through any type of video or being on video, he was not going to do it. He was not into it. I had to beg him to even get on video. It was like a painful process for him. And so now seeing him on a live stream, which terrifies most people, they would rather do videos than live stream, right? It's for us, it was like the hack. It was the fix. It was the thing that bridged all of the pieces that he was calculating when he would turn on the camera. And no matter how experienced I was as a former videographer, photographer, right? I had all this gear, none of that mattered when it came to helping him feel more comfortable. Now I'd helped hundreds of clients feel more comfortable on video, right? But when it came to him, he was just like, yeah, I'm not your client. Okay. And this is not helping me.
Oh, I love this.
So yeah, so we went through it for a couple of years and he was like, "No, I am committed. I know that this is the best way to help people. I just don't want to do it." And it was really difficult for him and I thought, "Gosh, is there a way that I could help?" But not really because I wasn't the expert at that and I wasn't going to pretend that I was, right? So we got started first with him just doing videos and I was editing those and kind of just in the background of the channel. And then we started live streaming last May, and that has been so much fun. We're having an absolute blast. And to your point about talking about like the most non-sexy thing on YouTube,
I don't mean it like that.
it's the truth. And we say that. Matter of fact, last night, because our Valentine's Day landed on our live stream night, I was playing like the most sexiest music. Matter of fact, I'll give you a little sample.
Hit me. Hit me. Ooh,
This
that
is
sax comes
yeah,
in.
this is what I was doing, talking about what you can do with your self-directed 401k. Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
when you talk to me like that,
And we
talk
were
money
waiting,
to me.
and we thought, who's going to show up? It's Valentine's Day, right? But we still had 50 people over there. Well, we held at 50 people, so we had more than 50 people tune in. But the chat was on fire and they were absolutely loving it. So we try to make it fun. And I think we get to be ourselves and it doesn't feel so performative as kind of talking to a camera and doing videos felt a little performative for him anyway. So this is much more natural. We get to connect with people and we're having a blast together doing it. So it's our jam.
So we're going to rewind just a little bit. So for the people who are here, Pixel Pia, who was the person who had been asking me for a couple of weeks now, hey, let's do a video about building an online community. And I was like, yes, we're going to get to that. So one, thank you to Pixel Pia for suggesting that one. So we had a topic to discuss. And also hi to Adam's Exploits and to Johnny Bean. I feel like that must be someone from your community. I don't know if I recognize that avatar because I think it looks it looks newer to me. But hi, Johnny. Sorry if you are not newer to me. It's just the first time I've seen your avatar. We always, though, ask a question every week, and we skipped over it because I was just so excited to jump into it. Do you know what that question is? It's it's a little question we always start at the top of the hour. It says, "What's in your cup?" So you can
Oh,
discuss with us what's in your
that's
cup today. It
right.
could be a water, adult water. Let the people know what's in your cup today.
It's water. It's oh, it's blurring. It's like, don't put your merch up here, girl.
No, absolutely do.
That's crazy.
I don't know if your
Uh,
camera's doing that because my camera's not doing that for you.
yeah, it must be some setting that I have. Yeah, this is just water. Yeah, I need to
There
drink
you
more
go.
water.
And I think Pixelpia probably has coffee out there, cold brew. And then if Adam is drinking Poland Springs water today, I've got the Pike Place Market Spice Market tea. So that's what's in my cup today. And if I didn't mention you and I didn't guess correctly, let us know what's in your cup today. Now, one other thing, we have to rewind really quickly.
Okay.
So, how long have you and I known each other now? It's been like, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 years, something like that.
Yeah, it was like, but I think we connected for the first time back in Clubhouse,
Oh, yeah, it could
early
totally be.
Clubhouse days.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that would have been 2020. So yeah, four
Yeah.
years ago, something like that. Yeah. So I feel like yeah, we've been, it's hard to sometimes quantify, online friendships. And I'm like, no, I feel like I've known you forever, but I think it's about 4 years. So one of the things I was going to chat with you about is the fact that I remember way back in the day, you had that profile picture and then it said something like professional rabbit hole chaser, something like
Hunter.
that, right?
Yeah.
Rabbit
Yeah.
hunter. And I wanted to have you explain what that was because I figured it was one of the things too that drew me to you because I have a kinship to that kind of thing too. But first, you have to explain what that is to people.
Yeah. So it's professional rabbit hole hunter.
Yes, that was it.
And I got this title actually from some clients of mine. I had shut down my marketing business because I had a different venture and I had a business partner. And I said, "Hey guys, I'm not gonna do projects anymore. I'm shutting it all down. This is just life's taking me in a different direction." And they kept calling me. And I said, "Why are you calling me? I told you I can't, I'm not working, right? I'm not for hire." And they said, because it's how your brain works. You're like a rabbit hole hunter. When we give you a problem, then you go down all these rabbit holes and you expose like the root of the problem. You come back with all this information as to what, like, all the associated issues with this problem, right? And this is what makes you different. And so if we can, we're just going to call you anyway. Even if you're not for hire, we're still going to call you because we need you. We need what it is that you do. And I thought, that's so strange. So I'm talking to somebody else, and I hadn't worked with them for years. And they call in, and I said, "Well, why are you calling me? And you have access to all these other people." They said, "Well, because you like dig in to things, and we like how you research and how you like go in the rabbit holes." And they were calling me a rabbit hole something, and then it became rabbit hole hunter, and I was like, "Oh, but professionally, of course." And so it just became like this running joke. Then I just decided to own it. This is exactly what I do, and this is why I was good at what I did. And so I enjoy this process, and so this is just a part of who I am. So I just kind of like owned this statement, and it is so wild. But the way that I like to think of it is, Alice, for instance, I'm not Alice. I don't trip into rabbit holes, I hunt them. And the statement that I came up with was, many speak of rabbit holes, for some they're merely habits, but only few will ever ask, where are all the rabbits? What I'd find with my clients is often they would have these rabbit holes that they would get tripped up in, right? These problems that they struggled to solve. And the truth was, they were the rabbit. They were the ones digging the holes. And the only way out is through. And so you have to be able to go uh, down in there and find out why you dug the hole in the first place, or else all you're doing is finding a new spot. You get out of that one, you find a new spot and start digging again. So that's why I look for them now. Where are all the holes that we could get tripped up in, and let's find out who's digging them, and let's stop it. Or let's go down there and find out, was there a reason for it? So that's where it came from, and I've just owned it ever since.
I love that. And I love that you kind of can apply that to helping your husband, because first of all, and he was like, I don't want to, I'm not your client, but like, you're like, but I see this need and you're going to do this thing. I'm going to help you do this thing. And then it's like, okay, well, how do we do this thing in a way that feels, good to you, feels good to the audience, feels good to everybody involved? And then you kind of not stumble down the rabbit hole, but you researched your way into live streaming is what we're going to be doing to build our community, to service everyone, to do the education, to maybe relieve some stress, which I think it's funny that you touched on when you said it would be more stressful to a lot of people. And instead you guys were like, that's the one. We're doing that. So can you tell us a little bit about why you guys kind of made that pivot into live streams and why that was then so key and critical for you in growing your community?
Yeah. When he would turn on the camera to film, it was almost like he turned into a robot. It was a completely different version of him. And as I'm editing this footage, I'm going, like, this is not you. This is not something that people are going to connect with. But he just felt so foreign. And so there's no way for him to feel like, how do I be authentic when I feel so weird doing this? There's just the connection is not happening in my brain. And he had done, I don't know, 20 videos, and he still was not moving the needle on being more himself. So it was something that I felt like I was constantly criticizing him, even though I felt like I was encouraging him. I felt like I was just trying to, you know, get a better product or end result so that we could help more people. And just in terms of like our marriage, even, this was something that we really struggled with, because I was constantly like frustrated not having things that I felt good about editing, and so therefore the product, and therefore it didn't perform, and then therefore he's going, well, what was the point of all of that at the end of the day, right? And he was exhausted. Like, filming videos was just completely drained his energy. And so I saw the impact that it was having on him. I saw the impact that it was having on us. So for a while I was like, well, maybe this isn't worth it for like the sake of our marriage, right? It was TikTok and him seeing that, all these people were showing up on TikTok when you go live over there. And he was thinking to himself, well, maybe this would be better because I wouldn't be trying to follow a script. I would just be talking or having conversations. And it kind of seemed so easy when he was watching other people. So he was challenged to go live on TikTok by some of his peers or colleagues. And it was like New Year's Eve or something he chose. I don't know why, or the night before New Year's. It was like some random holiday time. And I thought, okay, well, so I'm standing there behind and I'm trying to read comments for him. And you could tell that he was super nervous. He was tripping up on his words. He was kind of feeling awkward, right? Trying to fill in space. And he thought, okay, I just need to do it a couple more times. Like, that felt better than doing video, but it still felt really strange and I'm still not into it. He did it a couple more times. Then he said, no, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I said, okay, well, when? Well, like, to give me a day that you're going to go live again. And he was just running from it,
I
right?
love it when you're like, what day?
Yeah.
Let's
And
put it on the calendar. Let's do this.
yeah, because I've been pushing him for so long. And he just finally admitted, like, I don't like it. I'm not into it. I don't want to do it. And he's like, I get it. I get all the things that I need to work through, the fear, all those things. Like, I understand all those things, but I still don't like it and I don't want to do it. So we had talked about, what if, like, I start you off by like co-hosting with you. That way I can maybe help fill in some of those spaces, or we can just be having a conversation, and then maybe we can fill in with guests or something else. You can kind of take over from there. So it was really more of like let me go with you and do it. Let's do this together. And as soon as I said, let's do this together, he was like, okay, I'll try it.
Well, I
So
think there's something fun about being able to bounce off, not only a coworker, but a spouse or someone who knows you, someone who's probably not going to let you like be a complete fool or, like, unless you want to, but like someone who's going to like safely protect you. And I feel like it was probably a very safe environment for him to go live, especially when he isn't as well versed in everything in video and live streaming as you are. He's like, oh, my wife's got me, like she's got me on this one. And I would think that that would make you feel more comfortable in wanting to show up, because it is daunting when you're doing it, by yourself and pushing all the buttons and trying to read the comments and then trying to be like, do I look stupid right now? Or like, what, did I just accidentally show something I'm not supposed to on my screen? Or, and then even one, having someone behind the scenes pushing the buttons, and then two, being like, oh, here's a question that just came in, or here is something, what, kind of prodding you along. I feel like that provided him a lot of comfort to be himself more when you guys are live streaming.
Yeah, I do think that is an element of it, but I don't think that was actually the driving factor that kept him showing up. It was the fact that when he gets flown out all the time to go present this type of information to large groups of people. So this happens all over the nation. But when he's in front of this conference of, let's say, 200, 300 people, you can hear a pin drop. He has them completely engaged. The whole room is filled with questions, and he is just 1,000% himself and like locked in. He's there present with everybody. He is not nervous. He is not stumbling on his words. He is not the person who we see or saw in the beginning when he was first doing videos. He is completely himself, just the guy that I know and love, right? And that part, it's like, how do you duplicate that environment or that experience so that it just feels natural and he can just turn it on and then just go, so that people could meet that version of him. And that was the part of the conversation, I think, between he and I. It kind of emulated that. And then when we started to have and build our community, they just became the people in the room, right? And we're building a family. And so instead of him going from room to room or conference to conference, we're just adding more and more people to that room. And they are coming not because they're here to say, well, tell me about what it is you're talking about, and I'll decide if I want to stay or not. So you're watching people walk in and walk out, right? It's a completely different thing. And so we feel like this is our family. We're building a family. We are helping. We've started a movement, and it's like a each one teach one. Those people are inviting other people to come in, and it's their sisters, their spouses, their kids. We have so many families who are tuning in, and I feel like because they also feel like their family when they come, to our stream. So that's, I think, the piece that kept things going. And I think that's the most important factor for him, is he feels like he's picking up where he left off. And then when people call him for a consultation, and the consultations are free, when they call him, they feel like they know him, and he feels like, okay, well, I don't know you, but if I've seen you in the chat before, I do feel like I know you, because we've already been having a conversation, right? So now more people are jumping in the chat because they want to have that sense of like, they already know me, right? I can ask questions and we can pick up where we left off. Even if I continue a question in another video, they'll already know who I am. And I love that, because we know that we're helping people. So, if you want to jump into the community building part, I think that's the center of, like, that's the magic in building something, is starting with your why and what it is you're serving, why you're serving. And I think what connects you to people, that's the part that doesn't feel like we're growing a YouTube channel, doesn't feel like we're creators. It just feels like we are stepping in our purpose and serving in that way. And we're seeing the fruits of that because we continue to show up. So
That was awesome. So we're going to jump into one of the first questions that Pixelpia had asked, and it was
okay.
right along the first lines of, having Donnell be more authentically himself and being in that environment that made, all of that possible. But her question is, how do you find a way to be authentically yourself regardless of the topic? All tips are welcome here. So do you have any tips on that?
Okay, I do. Um, about 2 years ago, we went to this workshop called How to Be Your Biggest Fan. It was a self-esteem workshop led by Renee Cermak. And we show up to this workshop with all of our kids, like our whole family. Sometimes we do these books or personal development kind of initiatives as a family. And we go to this workshop. She has us do this exercise, call it exercise. You list out all of the things that are like withdrawals out of your self-esteem. So things that you do not like that you have done or do consistently that you think you can improve on, or you wish you didn't do, all of the things, make the whole list of things. And she had categories to help people like move through this exercise, because there's like, I don't know, 200 people in the room. When we got to the part where now write a list of all the things that you really appreciate about yourself, that you think that you do well, that you do on a consistent basis that makes you feel good, right? So then that list was like this big for me. Where the other list was like, I could have sat in there for like 2 hours writing things on that list, right? Like I had a huge withdrawal list. There was like this scoring system that she had, and you kind of grade yourself on where you are with your self-esteem. For a long time, I had been so focused on adding to that deposits list because it was so little, right? I was adding over here and I had no idea of where the deposits were coming from. Now imagine that if you were only focused on making more income, you only had a certain amount of income, but you were just focused on making more income and you were not paying attention to what was being withdrawn out of your account. And that list, those subscriptions were growing exponentially, right? At some point, it would make sense to go and unsubscribe from some of those memberships so that you have less bleeding out of your account, right? That's where self-esteem is. It's an account. It's like a bank account.
It's a piggy
And
bank.
yeah, that's right. And oftentimes we don't know how to check the balance. So we are kind of just showing up. So for being authentically yourself, regardless of the topic, I think it first comes with feeling centered, right? Feeling comfortable with who you are. And sometimes we're like, yeah, I'm going to put my best foot forward. And the problem with that is if you're feeling really crappy and you're trying to put your best foot forward, it's just spraying spray over a bad smell, right? And you can still smell it. It's always there. It's there. And that's how I felt like I had functioned with my self-esteem for a really long time. And that's why it made it really hard to show up authentically in spaces, regardless of the topic, regardless of the person. And if anything impacted that in the process, I could be torn down or crumble in a moment. Here's an example of that. So her book is How to Be Your Biggest Fan. It's by Renee Cermak. I recommend this book to everyone, and we keep extra copies here at the house. We give them away consistently. Whenever there's a used version up on Amazon, I snag it up and I just keep them coming, because there's no possible way to get that information that's in this book to someone else. They have to read this book. And I promise you, there's not been a single person who's finished this book who has not come back and went, wow, holy cow, this works. I am actively using these tools and these strategies inside of this book, and it has changed the game for me. So I know how impactful it's been for me, for my husband, for my kids, for my whole family, and the people that we've shared it with. So that's number one. That book's got the secrets for sure. And they're workable, they're actionable items that you can do, like understanding where your bank account is so you know the impact that something has on you. Making your bed every day. If you are walking by your bed, this is just an example, 6-7 times a day and you see that it's not made, that's 6 to 7 withdrawals that are coming out of your account, not one. It doesn't count as one, right? And understanding the impact of those things helps you then to have I guess just an idea of where your account balance is. Not saying don't focus on the deposits. It's just managing the withdrawals are so much more powerful, and it gives you some framework for that. There's a lot of other stuff, and I won't get into that tonight. But that book, I don't even know that she believes how powerful this book is. But man, it is a game changer. So, How to Be Your Biggest Fan by Renee Cermak. Couldn't recommend it more. That will help you to know your center. And I feel like when you feel better about yourself, regardless of where you are or what situation you're in, it is a lot easier to navigate conversations, topics, or be put in situations that would normally maybe make you feel uncomfortable.
Excellent. So we have another question. Are you ready for this one? This one is, let me pause the little scrolling thing and put this one here. She says, do you believe that live streams are a better way to build community versus videos? I have an answer on that. I would love to hear your answer on that. My short answer is absolutely yes. For you, go ahead.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, the answer is yes. This is the only way that people get to see who you really are. It's unedited, right? They get to see the tone and the words that you would use that are not scripted, or you could edit in even in replying to somebody in a text or something. Hold on one second. So I feel like this is the way that people get to see like the real you, as long as you're showing up as the real you. Because if you're not, then they get to see you not doing that either. And people can sense that, right? You can sense if somebody is being authentic or not. I feel like, especially in this day and age, we have seen far too many people out there doing stuff, and you can kind of tell when someone is kind of performing, and when somebody like, oh, no, that's totally her. And I feel like you can't fake that energy. So I it's been working for us, and we absolutely love it. So I would say for some people, I feel like they want to be an expert so bad on something that they cannot just be themselves. And that's where it doesn't work. They should just probably script videos and just put them out if they feel like they have to get on screen and perform.
So I definitely want to touch on that. And I feel like it's one, especially sometimes in the education or some kind of educator space, where a lot of the time they don't want to do live streams because they don't want to appear sometimes as though they don't know the thing that they're teaching. And so it can come off as like, scary to be like, I don't know, let's try it in, if we're editing something, or let's try this thing and see, oh, maybe it didn't work and the wheels fall off the bus while you're driving the bus. And that's uncomfortable for a lot of people. But it's in those moments where we're kind of like growing and like, and the audience gets to see like, this is us trying, screwing things up, learning, and this is how we do it. And for some people, that is so terrifying because they're like, my videos are, a tight 5 minutes. It's me doing every single step correctly. It's me being the authority in the subject matter expert. And I can't not show up, not having it already. Like by the time they're doing the 1 through 5 steps, they've already rehearsed the 1 through 5 steps in order to make sure it looks like, there's no hesitation in where they're supposed to be clicking, or oops, I clicked the wrong thing. And I feel like live streams strip all that away. Because when
Yeah.
you're, like trying to push some buttons and things are going wrong and you have no idea, that right there, for some people, if you're not secure enough in yourself to be like, I screw up all the time, we're going to work through it together. For some people, they're not willing to show that to their audience. And because of that, I don't feel like they get to build that relationship of trust in some way, because it's like, I don't think people are waiting for someone to screw up and then being like, haha, caught you. It's more like, oh, I tried that too, or oops, or oh, that makes them human. And I feel like the people skip that and they miss it, because they're trying to always be perfect. And once we
Yeah.
maybe throw away some of that perfectionism, then it's okay to inject more of ourselves into those videos. Kind of, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you made a really good point around making mistakes and allowing people to see that you're human and make mistakes, because they're going to make mistakes too. I think the topic though, or the niche, matters a lot, because if you're doing like steps for things and you're showing a process, maybe you could because in an edited video you could even show, hey, I made this mistake. And if you make this mistake, here's how to correct that. Cause that could be valuable too. Sometimes in, especially like a cooking channel, I run to the comments to see where people have messed up, or maybe they was a happy accident, right? That happened. And they went, hey, I accidentally did this, but this is how it turned out when I did that. And I actually prefer that. The secrets are all in the comments. We know the comment section is where it's at. I do think that there's an element to giving yourself permission to mess up. The relationship that we have in terms of being on social media, being on YouTube, and being judged. I think that's really what it comes down to, is we don't want to be judged.
We don't want
What
to give
if,
extra reasons to be judged because we will always be judged.
yeah, but I think there's a lot of layers here, and I think it's different for men and women, right? Different. The things that Donnell felt self-conscious about, I was like, "What are you talking about? That's what's in your head when you see yourself on video." And he's like, "Yeah, I can't unsee it." And to me, I'm like, these are the things that I'm seeing on video, myself on video, and I'm going like, "Ugh, cringe," right? I didn't like it. And he's going, "What are you talking about? You're crazy, right? That's insane that's what you see. I don't see that at all. I don't think anybody else would see that." I've really had to let a lot of stuff go. Is There's a lot of times when I would say, "Oh, I'll wait until I reach this benchmark," right? I'll wait until I can remove this thing that makes me feel self-conscious. I'll wait until like I lose 10 pounds, whatever the case is, right? I'll wait until I can figure out how to do makeup for video, like whatever on me, right? Whatever the thing is, get better lighting so I can feel more confident. Whatever those things are, I just had to let it go. And the reason why I had to let it go was because we had a mission, and the mission was to help people. And if we weren't out there helping people, then we knew that these people weren't getting this information. And here's how I almost like tricked myself into practicing turning it off, that noise, that voice. It was asking myself, is it fair that all these people are robbed of this information because you've got 10 extra pounds? Those 10 extra pounds are preventing other people from getting this information. How selfish is that, right?
Hmm. No, I'm right there with you.
Because of my weight, because and because I'm an emotional eater, right? So I'm like, am I going to stop doing that for other people? No. So I better get up here and get out there and quit caring about it so much, because it doesn't matter. They don't care. When they see me, they're not thinking to themselves like, wow, she really packed it on. You know what I mean? They're not thinking that at all. They're just accepting me for who I am because I accept others for who they are when I see them. And they're not caring about that part. They're focused on what it is I have to say. That really took me a long time. There may be other people who don't struggle with this type of thing, but for me, that really took me a long time to get over, especially when I started having vision issues. And you know my journey. Uh, I'm supposed to be blind and in a wheelchair right now, and I just pushed forward and fought to find solutions because I believed that there was something different for me. I had to push through and find solutions to be able to, see the setup better so that I could be more productive and not struggle as much. Just got to keep going. And doesn't mean you got to wait until, nope, but you just got to keep going and practice cutting the noise off, practice putting it away. And I feel like when you are in the act of doing that and people know that you're doing it too, they're with you. They're there to cheer you on as well. Like in exchange for this value, we're going to cheer you on, girl, because we know that there are some things that we can totally tell you're struggling to see, right? And read our comments and whatnot, but we know you're showing up, and that's the important part, is that we're here first. So I appreciate them for that too, because I need that support and that
Hmm.
reassurance sometimes too. Yeah.
I've definitely had that too. And I've been on live streams before too. And here's another thing I think you can do is sometimes the audience that is showing up for you continually, you can ask them, why are you showing up? what is it that you like when you are coming up short on your list of the deposits or the things on that side of the column? It's okay to ask your audience, like, what do you like about me? Why do you keep coming back to, this channel of all the channels that you could, be on? And sometimes, you need that little boost of self-confidence, or like the comments that you see in the community or on your videos about how you're changing lives and, like having people get out of debt, or, having people get more secure and set up for their retirement. Those are the types of things that keep you going when you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to show up today because I've got this extra 5 pounds, right? Or, oh, I really, whatever else it is. Okay, there's a couple comments I want to put on screen for you. One of them is from Home Rapid Repair, and he says, Angelique, I finished your podcast today on vidIQ. Thank you for sharing. So love that. And then Keely, our Discord coach here, says, massive +1 to the community building power of live streams. It's the way I get to see who my community is and how I can serve them. And I think the really great word that I've heard from you, I hear from Keely, and I'm reading is serving. Serving the audience, right? Not sometimes yourself, but serving the audience so that you can definitely build that relationship with them because you're serving them. That's the whole servant leadership coming in. So
Yeah.
there is a question here from Home Rapid Repair, and he says, I enjoy my live streams more than edited videos, but I don't have a large audience yet on my live stream. So I'm not sure if the ... here, because it may be, I can't see it in the eCam one, but maybe the question is, how are we building, or how can we build or grow a community even when we're starting small? Maybe because it looks like he wants to continue doing the live stream, enjoys them, but maybe it's just harder right now because he doesn't have a large group. I'm in the same boat. We have 10 people. There we go. But how do you keep going and feeling of serving others when maybe you're not having some of the success that you'd like to see?
Well, regardless of if there were 2 people, 1 person, or 100 or 200 people on our live stream, we are still having a great time with whoever it is. Now, just because there were higher numbers, like even if there was 20 people watching, there may have only been 2 people or 3 people that were in the chat, right? So the people watching versus the people in the chat, I think, are 2 different audiences too. How do you get people to engage with you in the live stream? Because otherwise, even though you're live and you're talking to people like we are right now, right? We're having a conversation with each other, but if we were to pull them into this conversation now and be having more of a conversation with them, then I think that makes a difference. But even if it's only just one person, like Home Rapid Repair, by the way, hi, and thanks for joining us over here. I think for you, just in terms of what it is that you're doing, having a reason why you're doing what you're doing. Is this because, for instance, you think that maybe people need to have the skills to be able to DIY and do these things themselves? Is it because these are things that you wish somebody would have taught you, right? Like, what is the reason for your why? If you want to explore a reason to serve, or your reason to serve, and really map that out, Built to Serve by Evan Carmichael, hands down. This was so powerful. I had interviewed him like a month ago when he came to Arizona. I just had random opportunity to interview him at the Genius Network building with Joe Polish, who I loved his book too. What's in It for Them? That's another great book. When I showed up to this space, and I got to be in the same room as these 2 individuals who I just admired so much. I had not read Evan's book at the time, but I had read Joe's book. We had already implemented so many of the concepts and material from Joe's book, just the ideas of making people feel like it's about them, right? Making them understand that they are welcome at all times and that you are there to serve. Like, so what's in it for them is a different spin on serving. It's not necessarily leading about serving. He doesn't really even use those words in there. It's different, and it's really more about networking than it is like building a community per se. But Evan's book, man, we were on our way to Tucson for my vision therapy, And I started reading this book aloud to Donnell in the car. We were going through these exercises. All I had were Post-it notes in my purse. And I was just like writing all that I could down for these exercises on these Post-its and slapping them in the book and just kept going. By the time we got down, we had done this for 2 visits. We were almost done with the book, but we had to find like our purpose and why we're serving and like our story. What he takes you through is really like not so for home rapid repair, it's not the home repair industry and niching, right? That's not what this is about. This has nothing to do with your niche. It has nothing to do with your brand. It has nothing to do with the marketing. You're not going to find an email list or mention of it in this book. This is so different because this is really like the foundation. This is the fabric, the framework around and everything else you'll build, your brand, your messaging, everything, your marketing. It's the piece that says there are a ton of people out there who are doing home repairs or who are watching home repair videos or who subscribe to home repair channels. There's millions of people that do this. But you, and the reason why you do it, your why, your story, the things that made you feel like you even wanted to do this in the first place, why this is a passion for you, why you could wake up every day and do this, those are the reasons why they will come. Those are the reasons why they will tune into your live stream. Those are the reasons why they will be a loyal community with you and feel like they are with you and not just like a fan base, because that's different, right? We don't want fans. We want a community. We're building a family. I think trust is a factor with social media and YouTube right now. And once you break trust with people, it's really, really difficult to get that back, right? So having like being centered. So I feel like if you did how to be your biggest fan and then you went right into built to serve, that's powerful. You will have so many tools, and like your tool belt will be home repair, right? Your tool belt will be filled to the brim. And at any point in time, you'll understand which one to grab and why you're grabbing it. That's the most important part. The other piece is there another part to what it is that you do? So you've seen like cake channels that talk about maybe personal development, or they read stories aloud. Sometimes these are kind of called like social hacking, or these are like mixing 2 niches, right? So this like edutainment, or I don't know what the actual name for this is, but you know what I'm talking about, right, Shelly?
I think I do. Yes, it's about how you can bridge the two things that don't seem to make any sense together in a way that would be uniquely yours.
Yeah. A lot of people try to do this because they're like, oh, that way I kind of get, best of both worlds, or I get to mix the two, and that will make this more interesting for people. But I think we already have that built into our story. And that's what Evan kind of helps you to break all of that down so that it really exposes what those elements are, and helps you understand why they're significant. Even if it's only one person, but you know that you are building in the right way, they will come. And I can't stress that enough. There is nothing worse than feeling performative and getting to, let's say you grew to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and you felt like you were killing it. And you got to 100,000 and you realized, like, I was only doing this because it was helping my channel grow. I really do not like talking about this, or I do not like doing this. This is where people were burning out and quitting YouTube, because that was exactly what they were doing. And they realized they don't like it at all, and they don't want to do it anymore, and they cannot be themselves, and they had to completely shut themselves off and condition themselves to not want to think about what they didn't want to do, because it wouldn't perform if they were just themselves. But what if it meant that you were able to be authentically yourself, and you were having a healthy relationship with people online and yourself and your family, and you had balance and all of those things, right? Would you take 75,000 over 100,000, but it was the right way? I think everybody would.
Yeah, I think a lot of people as they tend to go on, they worry about the specific number, whether it's the number of people in the stream, the number of comments, the number of likes, the number of shares. And it's easy to fall into that trap a lot of the time because those things are quantifiable. It's not quantifiable in like, I feel like I have a relationship or kinship with my audience always, right? And then you're like, but what do I do with that? Or how do I make it more? It's always more, right? The bigger, better deal. And that's a retraining of our brain in knowing that it's okay to have 5 people who are here and engaged in a live stream versus, being sad that you didn't have 50, 60, 100, whatever else it is. And it's tough because we are always inundated with so many different ways to compare our performance either against our old performance or other people's performance, right? Like the number of
Yeah.
views is public. The number, well, I mean, it used to be the number of likes was public and dislikes, or it used to be like, but you can see like I put a something up on Instagram and it gets 5 likes and someone else does it and they get 50 likes. And then you're like, well, we have about the same audience. Wait, what, and then all of a sudden it's like, we forget that 5 people engaged with it, liked it, commented on it, right? And we're always so sometimes concerned about that next 5, that next 50. We forget to engage. And when we abandon the people who have been with us, right? If I just one day I was like, I don't know who Pixelpia is or Home Rapid Repair, even though they're here every week, then, and I'm just worried about the next 50, that will be like it's such a huge slap in the face for the people who have been with and sometimes that community. It's one at a time, slowly, and like you have to keep grinding and showing up, just like you guys, right? Like you have to keep showing up, and then sometimes it goes from 4 people to a stream to 5 people to a stream, and then maybe we get one more and it's 6 people to a stream, and we still have our inside jokes and we still have all that stuff, but it's that slow thing. But then all of a sudden I'm looking from the outside, I'm like, guys, I had 3 people, right, or something like that, and we're not thinking, oh my god, the same 3 people. It's awesome because they spend their Thursday with me. They're thinking like, oh, it's still not 10 people. Does that kind
Yeah.
of, and I feel like we have to retrain our brain a lot of the time to turn off some of that one comparisonitis, but like we focus on the everything that wasn't already like existing right there. Right.
Yeah.
So
I do think that there's a lot of value in the people who ride with you and have been riding with you, right? Like even Home Rapid Repair, for instance. I know this person from a coffee talk, right? So we've spent lots of time together, and they're a valuable person within that community. So they're already a part of my community. And sometimes we also say, well, how come nobody that I share my stuff out to Facebook, but nobody is tuning in? None of my friends, none of my family, nobody that I personally know. I would think that they would want to come and support me, but they're not even tuning in, right? And man, that probably is the most limiting concept. This is like the first thing when you join an MLM, right? You call everybody, you're like, hey, I got this opportunity for you, right?
I love when they say opportunity, right? Hey girl, just want to check up and
Right. And it feels the same way where you're like, I have this opportunity for you to tune into my live stream, right? Come watch me and get some value. No,
tell a
do you guys,
friend, bring it.
right? Do you guys feel the same way in the chat? I would hope, I would think so. But I have a question for everybody. Did you share on Facebook? Did you tell people that you were starting a YouTube channel, or did you keep that a secret and you didn't want any of those people to know? That's what I want to know. I'm going to be looking
That's a
in the
good
chat.
question. That's a good question here. All
Yeah.
right, and while we wait for that answer to come in, we're gonna say something. Pixelpia says, "I have a reason to show up, and I have a topic in mind, in the back of my mind for years now, and I've thought about doing it, but it's also a sensitive topic." Oh, I hid the wrong one. Sorry. So one of them is she's saying, "I want to talk about being a caregiver for a family member." Like my sister-in-law, and I live with her full time, but how can I approach a topic like this without telling too much or too little? Um, and so that's a tough one because it's also very highly personal. I'm gonna put in my 2 cents on this and say there are a lot of caregivers out there in this world, a lot of whom probably feel separated or like separate from other people, whether they feel like, oh, I'm missing out on some of my life, whether it's like, I don't know how to do these things that now I'm responsible for, and I don't even know like if I'm doing it right, or I feel so alone, or I have these questions, I don't know who to talk to. So I feel like there are definitely pockets of these caregivers like as a support group to each other. And I feel like if that's something that you feel compelled in your heart of hearts to talk about and share and reach out and communicate with others, even if it is a sensitive topic, I think it's absolutely worth doing because there's probably just not enough of it. So, but I'll
Yeah.
run over to you.
I- I've been both a caregiver and one having a caregiver. I was bedridden for a few years back in 2014, 15 timeframe, right around there. And that was when they told me, like, just hang it up. You're just going to need a caregiver. You're just going to be in bed for the rest of your life. This is what the cards look like for you. And that was really difficult for me to choke down. Matter of fact, I just never did. I was like, no, thanks. I don't want that.
I don't hear
And
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And while every appointment was about me, my condition, none of it was about support for the people who were supporting me. It could have even have been not just the medical stuff, like how to take care of me, right? Like the emotional part of
Mental
that.
toll. Oh, yeah.
Oh man. And then on top of that, being able to understand what they were experiencing too, because I was so isolated into my experience that I had like two layers. One was like dealing with the diagnosis, the illness part. The other part was like the emotional part of having to depend on people, right? And feeling all those feelings that came with that. Uh, I think this comes back down to the why. And Pixel Piet, I can't recommend this book enough. Built to Serve. I'm just sure, right? So he couldn't come. We didn't have enough time to like adjust his schedule. And I think for most people, they would be like, well, you're call those people and reschedule because this is opportunity to interview this, you know, big person, right? Persona, especially on YouTube. But my husband was like, I'm not doing that. One, these are our people that booked time with me. This is their time too. I don't care who it is. I'm not rescheduling with these people. I couldn't have supported that more because that's our community. That's our family. That's who those people are. They're not leads, right? They're not clients. They're our family. And that's how we see everybody. So there's no way we were going to reschedule. So then it was like, okay, well, then I'm going to have to go. But how am I going to get there? I'm going to have one of our kids drive me. And that would be strange because now I don't have Donnell and the dynamic of the channel and whatnot. And I'm interviewing for the channel. And really, I don't know, it was just weird, right? So I thought, well, maybe all of these were the signs that I wasn't supposed to, like, maybe not this time, right? There's so much going on and we're so busy anyway. And that night we had a live stream. So it
Mm-hmm.
was already going to be like a tight schedule and the whole thing. And I thought, no, they need to hear because he was, I was going to interview him about believing, right? That's his word, believing. And what people believe is possible for themselves, I think, is a powerful driver in talking about retirement or financial freedom, right? And making those decisions. So I felt like there's a lot of value to get out of this interview. So I was like, no, girl, pick up your big girl, put your big girl pants on and get out there and do it. So I show up, I hired somebody to handle the tech so that I could eliminate all of the
Mm-hmm.
things, right? Were
Yeah.
going to try to derail my day.
Yeah.
And I had my son and I gave him the gimbal and my phone and I said, hey, while we're there, wherever we are, just like go around behind the scenes and get some extra shots with the gimbal. But we ended up in this gorgeous room where he was stuck in a corner and he couldn't walk around. And the other guy was kind of like in a different space. He wasn't really familiar. And I thought you were okay. Well, whatever. On the way up the stairs, I trip. It wasn't like a oops, I tripped. I tripped in slow motion
Oh no.
42 times. 40, it felt like frame by frame. I was like falling, I was tripping, then I was trying to catch myself, and then somehow I was like reshifting myself. I fell in such slow motion. It was like 120 frames per second. Everybody was behind me. And what happened was I was like stepping up. It was carpet too. And my dress had caught on the edge of the step, and then my foot caught on my dress, right? So then my dress was also kind of slippery. So that's why I was falling 132 times in this, I don't know, 2 seconds. It felt like 15 minutes of falling. Everybody was behind me, everybody. And in this moment, I think you would have rewound a year or two ago, I would have been so embarrassed by this thing happening. And I don't know that I would have been able to recover, or I would have been like, oh gosh, right? As I started to get up, people are saying, are you okay? And I say, yeah, I'm okay. So I kept going.
We
It
just
was
keep going.
in the moment of this falling, I was telling myself, because remember I had said, put your big girl pants on and go do it. Why? It's because it's not about you. It's about them. They need this information. In the moment of me falling, I'm also telling myself, it's okay. People fall. Get up because you have a job to do, right? And so I told myself, people trip, Angelique, and you're okay. The good thing is that you're okay. And I think instead of criticizing myself that happened, and in the moment, just being like, you're okay, and taking care of me and not having that voice being like, oh, can't believe that happened. I can't believe, so embarrassed. I wasn't, honestly and sincerely. I hadn't read his book yet. And we have this amazing interview. It was like an hour and 45 minutes long. We could have kept going too. It was so long. But as I'm turning that corner and I saw that Joe Polish was there and he signed my book, and I got to tell him what I thought about his book, it felt like the universe's reward to me for that moment when I just had so much grace for myself. Had I not had a bigger why, I think I would have probably got caught up in what that moment meant, or all the things that I was doubting of this moment and how things weren't working out. And so it was causing my anxiety to just, skyrocket. And then here I am in this moment and I trip in front of everybody, including my kid, right? And we laugh about it now, like how long I fell. It was just like the most ridiculous thing. And I wish he would have just caught it on film, because we could probably have rewatched that like 100 times. Built to Serve. Yep. Okay. I'm glad you put it in there. The concept though of having a why, later on reading that in his book, I realized how powerful it was, and that was what had powered me to that interview. That was what had powered me through what could have been a humiliating or embarrassing moment, and changed my energy for what I came to do, right? But because I was coming to serve, and because this was part of my why, it was not about me. It was so much easier to love myself even in a moment like that. So, what I will say to you, Pixelpia, is if there is something here that you feel is a deficit, if there's something here that you feel is for loving yourself and for helping others that are in the same boat as you to be able to do the same and give themselves permission, even if it's that you don't have all the answers, and you don't have to pretend to have all the answers, and you are just giving people a place to come and a place to feel seen and heard. Like, that part matters too. We all need that, right? A place to belong. So,
Absolutely. I think
yeah,
that was
your
really
family,
powerful.
Oh, thanks. Well, thanks for
And
letting me
it's
share
such
it.
a mindset shift, because like you could be so embarrassed and be like, oh my God, this is where I fall down, I die of embarrassment. And I'm just going to pack up, tail between my legs and get in the car, that someone is going to drive me home.
This is
Someone's
how
going to drive
it
me
is.
home. but you didn't. You're like, it's okay. Everybody falls down sometimes. And you know what? You guys, my vision, it's not great. Let's just keep rolling with the punches, right? And you have a built in excuse no matter what for the rest of your life. I don't have the best vision, guys. Help me out. Right. You're
Yeah,
like, I couldn't even drive myself here today. So for the
and
rest
I
of your
think
life.
in that moment, my son got to watch me, how I responded to that too. Because he was walking me through what he was thinking, like, because he knows me, he knows every version of me up until this version, right? Like the before healing, before growth, and I'm still healing and I'm still growing. But he knows all of those things of how I would have normally reacted to something like that, which then programmed him to react to things like that, right? And so now I'm
Mm-hmm.
having to deprogram myself and them. But even in that moment, everybody watched as, and that was their feedback to me. Everybody watched as I gracefully walked out of that whole situation, like, and especially because it wasn't a big deal for me. We could all giggle about it, but also respect the forward movement. And that's a powerful,
I think it's
that,
very powerful.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's, I'm holding
absolutely.
on to that.
You should. But I do have to ask because when I saw that you had, you were saying that you were interviewing Evan Carmichael, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how that came to be as well, how that all the fortunes aligned and you got rewarded with everything in fate, as you said. How did you end up getting connected with Evan to do the interview?
Pat Flynn, who wrote Superfans, right?
Hmm.
Which is another book that I absolutely love. He had posted something about he wanted to have more people on his podcast this year and who should he interview? Like he was asking his audience, right? What do you guys want to see? And I said, you should interview Evan Carmichael because we want to know why he's so happy all the time, right? I just felt like that was one thing about Evan Carmichael that hey, nobody's probably asked, right? And would fit for his channel. And then I said Joe Polish that he should interview both of them. And Evan responded and said, like, thanks. I think Pat Flynn is also a very positive and happy guy. And I said, yeah, well, you guys probably have some secrets you could share with all of us. Well, I had some exchanges with him on Twitter before, just responding or, commenting on his posts. And I think it was that particular one or what something about that exchange or my recommendation for him being on Pat Flynn's podcast and why, what the value that I thought, because I had more points. Something about that made him click on my profile. And then he saw that I had posted something saying I was in Arizona and he happened to be coming to Arizona so in his mind, he was like, I dig your vibe. I'm also going to be in where you are. And so would you want to do an interview? If you're up for it, let's do it. And I thought, holy cow, are you serious? And that was it. I had no idea it was going to be at the Genius Network building. I had no idea it was that he was even coming here to be a part of Joe Polish's group. That was icing on icing on icing, right? It just kept getting better. And the matter of fact, we give away boats on our live stream, right? The story around the boat is because of a story that I was introduced to in Joe's book. So when I found out I was going there, I took these little boats that we give away. It comes with 2 oars, and that's part
Cute.
that's part of the story, right? It's there was an Olympic rowing team in 1997, and they totally sucked. They'd sucked for a long time. Everybody knew that they sucked. They never were held in any kind of respectful regard, and they wanted to win the Olympics. And they started asking themselves, will it make the boat go faster? And they all committed to this question, will it make the boat go faster? And if the answer was no, they couldn't do it. And so this became like their guiding principle, right? for everything that they did so that they could win the gold. And so that's why we give away these boats to, have like a visual reminder of who's in your boat. Are they impacting your ability to get to where you want to go? And are the things that you're doing, will it make your boat go faster? So we share that story because it was shared with us, right? And it was a part of his book, not the whole thing, but a part of his book. And it's actually another book. Like there's a whole book on this particular topic. Yeah. But I got to give these boats, had the whole package, and I got to give one to Evan and I got to give one to Joe Polish himself. His network, people fly in from all over the world to be a part of his network. And it's like, I don't know, $100,000 a year to be a part of his, it's like the membership fee. And Evan, the next day, he sent me a picture of Joe holding up my boat and telling people the story of how I took this, maybe it was a paragraph on a page, right? It wasn't a chapter or anything like that. It was just a mention in his book, and how I had taken that and that had been part of what has tied our community together are sentiments like this and people who wish to join a movement like this, right? And add those principles to their life. That was such a confirmation for me that I was doing the right thing. And I know we look for these things and sometimes we don't get them, but we've been doing this for, well, since May of last year. So it's been a long time. I'd say we've had some small confirmations along the way, but nothing like this that really set it forward. But I have to go back to especially everybody else who is thinking about building a community or is scared to do that. First, understand that building a community requires leadership, right? Building a community requires commitment in that way too. But it also is very lonely in moments when you don't have that confirmation that you're doing the right thing. And sometimes you have to do the right thing without confirmation because you should not have to have the confirmation to do the right thing. I feel like I just talked in a circle, but
No,
did that make sense?
I know what you mean. Yeah, no. It's kind of I know what you mean, and I'm having problems articulating it, but you have to be the same. Like it has to be consistent, even if it's an audience of one or an audience of 5,000. It has to be the unwavering. This is consistent. Like the message is consistent, even the audience is wider.
Yeah. And I do believe, like if you believe in what it is that you're doing, that's another part. If you're believing, oh, I'll get 100,000 subscribers for what? For what? That's not the belief part. What is it that you're doing that will eventually grow to 100,000 subscribers? Like that's the side effect, right? To what it is you're doing. But I think a lot of people get really caught up in like, I'm going to have a 6-figure year or like numbers attributed to whatever it is. And then that way what they're doing is going to shift and change because now we're just performing to hit this goal. This goal is monetary, or this goal is a vanity metric, right? That's the goal. It's actually not the goal, and that can't be the goal, because if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. So if the goal is 100,000 subscribers, well, there are a lot of roads that can take you there, and therefore like shiny object syndrome starts to form and you start to kind of flip and flop. But for people who are wanting to be a part of your community, they're watching that happen too. And they're not on board with your personal goal of reaching 100,000 subscribers. They don't care about that part, right? That's not for them. But if there's a mission, if there's a bigger purpose in what it is you're doing, and that's the part that you believe, then that's what they're on board with, because that's the thing that resonates them and kind of like binds you guys together, I would say. Believing, Evan's got that part right. And we were talking about my journey with my eyesight and how believing that there was a solution was the only reason why I have one now. A lot of people told me I was crazy for believing this. They thought I was, why? What's the point? Like, put it down, because you're making it harder on yourself to not accept going blind, to not accept just being chronically ill and like having no solutions. But I couldn't unconvince myself. That's the part. Maybe I was crazy. That's okay. I'm crazy enough to believe at a level that most people would give up. And I think whatever it is that you have to believe it so much that even if only 5 people are showing up today, you understand the mission that you're on. That's not going to stop you, because in a year from now, that number could change. In a year from now, maybe it never changes, and maybe it's 3 years from now and you believed something, you were so ahead of your time. It could even be something like that, but he's got that part right. And I have my own confirmations now, as we were kind of discussing it, and he was like, how did you just keep believing that? And I'm like, sharing my story with him, right? So I went to go interview him, and I ended up sharing too. And it's because we like we had something that threaded our stories together. And that's unbreakable right there. Like, I will never forget that moment. And now I believe that he won't forget my part of the story either, because in his mind, he was going like, I got to see the proof of what it is that I talk about, that I believe, right? And I was just a person walking, like our paths crossed in that way. And so therefore I was the confirmation in that moment, even for him, right? Which is cool. It's cool to experience that kind of thing. But does it mean that I'm awesome? Does it mean that I'm better? Does it somehow put my status up here? Does it change anything about what I'm doing? It doesn't. It
I think
doesn't.
when people are really consistent with their belief too, you get this wide spectrum. You get the people who are like, oh, like I want to see if they can do it. To, it's like it's like that hate watcher, like I'm gonna watch just because like I don't believe it's going to happen and I want to keep tabs on it just so I can like poke fun at it, and then eventually down the road they're still like maybe cheering you on, and all of a sudden like, wait, what? And then there are people that are like, oh no, I believe it with you and I want to see you achieve it, right? And I feel like all of that, even when you're catering to all those people and you are consistently going towards whatever it is that you've set, that is also like, that is the community that is forming. It's just even in these little pockets, but when you're that guiding north star of belief still going forward, you're like, I'm coming, you guys are, I'm dragging you with me. And it is interesting because I feel like, as like, with live streaming or whatnot, and people get to see you and feel like your intonation and your inflections and all of that stuff, then they're like, no, they're consistent with this, they believe this, and I want to, like, I'm coming along for the ride, and they become invested. And I feel like that's what community is, are people who are invested not only in you, but like the purpose that you have set out for yourself. And that's what people like really resonate with. And it's hard when people are flip-floppy, or like you said, there's a thousand different ways to get to the one end destination. And it's one thing to watch someone just kind of flip-flop and be like, they haven't quite figured it out yet, but they might. But it's also one where you're just like so steadfastly consistent with it that people, like, they may hate it, they may grow to respect it, then they may like rely on it and then learn to love it. And I feel like it's that sometimes it's that weird chipping away of like the statue in the marble or the ice sculpture, where it maybe starts as the spectacle and then it becomes into like, oh, I'm full-blown invested, I'm in it now.
That's where I was saying, like, the sharing with your Facebook or your family and friends, or people you went to high school with or just school with in general. Like, a lot of people don't want to be vulnerable in front of those people, but they also would almost see that, especially up front, as the confirmation that they have the support, right? Like, I should be doing this because look at how many people are supporting me. So now I feel like I can do this. I have the permission to move forward. Whereas I don't have, nobody's even showing up, not even people that I know like me. I could call these people up right now and say, hey, do you want to go hang out? They'd say, yeah. But if I ask them, I don't want to have to ask them, would you watch my live stream? They should want to support me, right? And man, we hear a lot of comments, and my husband gets the worst of them. The worst. People don't talk to me. They don't say anything to me around um, the channel or what it is or isn't doing. The only thing I hear are, compliments or encouragement. I don't hear the negative things. He does. He hears, oh, see you in your little YouTube channel, you and your wife doing your little YouTube thing. And those types of comments that, especially people that he grew up with when he goes back home or whatnot, right? And here's how I see those people. They have a box that they've put themselves in. They don't believe that anybody else can grow beyond that box that they can fit in, right? You're from here. You're just like me. You're not any better than me. I don't hold you in any higher regard. So therefore, I don't believe you can fit outside of this box, right? So your little YouTube channel, right? The little thing that you're doing, um, the cute little business, your little business that you started, like those little terms those are the triggers. Pay attention to those because you don't want to be around people like that, or you just want to detach like the power that they have. They can't be connected anymore. You got to take whatever wire is connected to you that sends the signals through to have an emotional reaction. We have to program ourselves to remove those because that right there limits so many people, like an insane amount of people, from even starting something that they are super passionate about. They absolutely believe that they can achieve it. They know that they can. They just can't get past this point or battle this obstacle that are the people in their lives and what they might think about it. And
I feel like it reminds you of like the crabs, right, in the bucket when they're pulling down the others because they don't want anyone to escape. And it's one of those too where it's always those people who are like, oh, your little YouTube channel, and then you get to, let's say, a certain number that all of a sudden they deem valuable, and
oh
then
yeah,
it's, oh, can you introduce me to, hey, can you,
yeah,
right, and then all of a sudden I always knew you could do it, or how much money, how do I get started, right, and all of a sudden, because you've shown them this possible different outcome from what they
hmm,
had thought for themselves, all of a sudden
yeah,
now a lot of it stems from like jealousy from what they cannot do for themselves, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
can't do
yeah,
that. I can't be successful. And then when you see someone else, you have two things. You can either be like even more resentful. Oh, they only got it because they're pretty. They only got it because blah blah blah, right? Or they then like become also sometimes jealous in this way. That's like, well, if they can do it, I can do it, and not just because they want to share anything in particular, but just because they want to try and like win in some kind of competition. And you really do have to divorce yourself a lot from what their words are saying. But additionally, I'm going to say that people do that to themselves. I know some people who
yeah,
say like, I have this little side business. I have this little, I have a little business. And then when they do that and they minimize their own things, I remember I was listening to a video from Jessica Stansberry, and she was saying in her little town, she said, oh, I have this little side business making websites. It was like WordPress sites for, businesses and something. And then she said that someone had not hired her who she knew who was maybe a business or something. And they said, well, I didn't think you did this because you just called it a little business. And then she had this light bulb moment. She's like, well, because I use those words a lot, it's my little side business. This person thought I couldn't do it for them and they chose not to go with me. And I'm saying that about myself. I'm saying that about my business. And then it affected how other people viewed it. And so she's like, I stopped calling it my little side business then. She said, I have a business and this is it. And it was a weird shift that she had to make for herself, but then she realized that she was, projecting this thing of little side business, and she was then getting back what she projected out, which was other people thinking it was a little side business. And so she
yep,
had to stop doing that.
yeah, yeah. That's powerful. And again, I think that goes back to that book, like How to Be Your Biggest Fan. It's how we see ourselves is powerful, and we show up. Like our view of ourselves, first and foremost, is like at the root of all of our relationships with other people, how we show up and how we make decisions. The versions of ourselves that are like tucked away inside as well, she also addresses that. So, in the moment when you are talking with or around your childhood friends, there could be this version of you that was developed in that time and space, right? That comes out, and you can't, it's hard to escape, and you don't understand when that one's present versus the adult version of you who's on YouTube, like that version showing up in those spaces. And being able to even differentiate between the two is super powerful, and it feels like you gain control back in your life, which is hands down the most empowering feeling, to be able to feel like you have control in those moments. And it is not about the situation. It is not about the stairs, right? It is not about who's in the room, big or small. It is about you feeling like you are so connected that this opportunity is an opportunity to serve. This being back in this situation with your childhood friends is an opportunity to serve. There's a lesson here for me, regardless of what this is. And if I feel uncomfortable, it's even more of a reason to pay attention to what this lesson is. And that way, there's going to be somebody who's going to come around the corner. They're going to be dealing with the exact same thing. And will there be a me for me? Right? Will there be someone who come around the corner and say, here's this book, How to Be Your Biggest Fan. Here are the keys to the best version of you. What if she never wrote that book? What if I never shared it with other people, right? And I want to be the what I needed in those moments for other people to help them achieve their goal faster, help them come to those realizations. And I think we all want to make the world a better place. We all want to be able to help people, and we all have something to give. I do truly believe that. But sometimes we're choosing what it is that we are going to serve or lead with based off of what we think will perform, based off of what we think will limit our fears about ourselves and what we think about ourselves. We might choose things that are income related only, right? We don't actually like them. And all of this, I think, impacts what our experiences and ultimately impacts our goal. We see tons of people who make well over six figures every single year, and they still only have, whether they're making $40,000 a year or $300,000 a year, the average amount of money left over after bills is $500. So what's the difference in somebody who is sitting here at $40,000 a year going, I wish I could make $300,000 a year? They're the same person, right? Because they're living a very similar lifestyle and very similar mentality. So for us, if we said we're going to help people who make between this amount of money, right? We would be counting out these other people who, just because they make more money, they have the same problem that these people do, the exact same problem. They feel the same way inside. It doesn't feel any different because for them, they're faced with the same future and the same reality. If we niche down, as everybody's always talking about, which is just, I feel like some people say it because it's being said out there, not because there's a context to it. I think we just need to uh, drill down, right? We need to dive into some rabbit holes, not for our business, not for our audience. We need to do them for ourselves. And I feel like the most impactful thought leaders, the one thing that kind of threads all of them together is the fact that they're leading from this very like a sturdy place as a person first. Mel Robbins, Brene Brown, like all of these people who we could probably make a huge list of people who we feel like are impactful thought leaders and have grown on social media and who have made significant change, and who, if we had to have like a pinnacle peak moment for some people on YouTube, it's Mr. Beast, right? Like, who is a top person? What do they all have in common? And I feel like this is a part that they all have in common. Anybody successful probably has this, or it won't be long until they don't, because they're going to burn out, because this isn't a part of their equation. So, building a community, these people are also just like you, and there's something about you resonating. I think it's okay to grow with people. I think it's okay to be human, and I think it's okay to take it one step at a time. The thing that I don't agree with is not taking steps because you're afraid, or waiting until you think that it will be perfect. They're not perfect right now, and it's okay to grow. So I don't know, kind of just ranting at this point, but the I hope that there's some value there, that somebody's picked up a nugget here and decided, you know what, today's the day I'm going to take some action. At minimum, I'm going to pick up some tools to help me through this. And I do think that those books are so impactful. Couldn't recommend them more. Matter of fact, I should send you a copy.
Yeah, I would love to read them. Okay, so here's one last question for Pixelpia, and then any last thoughts that you have. If you have something that you want to share with the world, but you are feeling a little bit nervous about people within your life and close circle actually seeing it, and you're not confident about that, and you don't want them to be like looking at it because it could be sensitive in nature, it could be talking about them, how do you kind of tune out what could be the reaction from people in your life and when you are anticipating it and still kind of move forward anyway? If you have any advice on that.
Well, who are these people? That's that's why I was talking about, like, the people in high school and your family who have this leash on you that says, "Oh, don't go that far," because it makes us feel uncomfortable, right? It makes you feel fear, or feel embarrassed, or feel a certain way because of how it's making them feel. Those are those wires, or those leashes I was saying, like, we have to detach them because we can't allow them to rule us. Now, if I cared at all and I had to share personal stuff and it would impact them in a way, or my relationship with them. One, we change the name of everybody. All the case studies that we do, we intentionally change the name and some of the details so that we're not invading people's privacy, or like, uh, publishing information about people that they don't want out there. So we do that on purpose. I think you could do that. That way it's not necessarily sharing who it is, and would make them feel embarrassed if that really is significant to you. If you're doing it just for the sake of views, and there's no value for other people, and it's really just making it about you, then I would say don't. Because there's a lot of people that do that, especially on TikTok. And it's like, why are you exploiting your family or whatnot just for views? Like, we see that. But there's another side of this that is help, like, there's a reach into a community. So for instance, Pixelpia, you're talking about being a caregiver. It'd be hard not to talk about your situation and the person that you're caring for. I would have a conversation with them and help them understand what it is that you're experiencing. If they can't understand that, then I would just say, just don't tell them that you're doing it, because this is your experience and it's yours. You own it. Other people are going to benefit from feeling seen and feeling heard in this way. And if that's really why you're doing it, and this is a pull that you have, and you feel like this is how you are supposed to serve, I would go through the book, Built to Serve, because there's some framework there in helping you really define what that is, so that maybe you can take out some of those personal details and focus on the important parts that might help you shape that message a little bit more. I want to say something, but I know that not everybody feels the same way that I do about this. I don't think I don't think that just because you're related to people that they get access to your life. I don't. I am not a fan of the blood is thicker than water. It's actually the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. That's the actual statement, which is sounds manipulative when people say blood is thicker than water, right? When you hear the actual statement. A lot of the times we get entangled in other people's feelings about things that we're doing, and we limit ourselves in how we show up or what we're capable of based on somebody else. But I promise you, they are not going to be there in the end to say, I know you could have been more. I know you could have done more if it weren't for my BS. Can I say that on here?
Absolutely. You can say all the words you want. All of them.
They're not going to say that. And we tell people this all the time, especially when it comes to like your finances. There's a lot of people who don't work on establishing some sort of passive income or aren't focused on their future because they're caught up this year just in the football, right? In sports, like they spend they would spend the time that they spend watching sports or something like that, right? Some activity like that, focused on their future and securing themselves financially, they would thank themselves later. But none of these people that you watch on TV, none of these shows, not a single actor, not a single athlete is going to come. They won't even know your name when you are struggling financially because we can't keep up with inflation. And because we are currently in a retirement crisis, imagine what it's going to be like in 20 years. None of those people are coming to save you, not a single one. But right now we're making them important, right? So if you are in a situation where you're feeling like I need more, if you're in a situation where you're feeling like I am giving more to other people than I am able to do for myself, that is a strong sign that you really need to turn it on inside, on the inside, turn internally and do the works for you. We can't pour from an empty cup. And I know that for some people, they feel like this is what I have to do. This includes parents, by the way. We have to start doing better and normalizing this because I think it's showing up everywhere. We can see the proof of it not being a part of the equation. And that's the sad thing, is that by the time it's impacted people in their finances, their health, right? Mental health, physical health, whatever it is, sometimes it's almost too late. We can do something about it though. We can build communities and we can be the change that we wish to see.
And I think when we have those communities, sometimes we get just as rejuvenated as they get from us. And it's a both cyclical thing where sometimes when you're feeling down, they can be there to like help pump you up, and you can be there to give them like, that hope or that kind of guiding north star sometimes if you are leading them towards some, common goal or some thing. I think it's something to be okay to rely on your own community as well, because it's one thing to have it just be one side. It's like, I always give you this, I always give you this. But sometimes it's okay, I think, to take back. And it doesn't mean like financial. It just means like in terms of like, sometimes I need emotional support. Sometimes I need words of affirmation. Sometimes I need like a virtual hug, whatever it is. And sometimes internally we are scared to ask that of people, but people don't mind giving it when they feel like they are a part of that community. And like
Yeah.
you're a part of it too.
You've been a part of quite a few different communities though, Shelly. You've had quite a few different ventures, but even with TubeBuddy, right? Like you were a big major part of that community and growing that community. And what would you say is the most consistent thing in terms of watching communities form? What would you say is one of the biggest drivers or factors in what brings people together? Not that they're coming here for me, right? What is the thing that makes them come for each other? What do you think that part is?
Shared struggle a lot of the time. Sometimes they really just want to be seen, heard, and feel like whatever they're experiencing, thing they haven't learned, feeling that they have, whether it's not being successful or something, they want to feel like that. I guess you could say misery loves company. They want to feel comforted by the fact that it's not just them having that experience. And having that shared experience bonds them. It could be trauma bonding, but bonds people together and actually just feeling not alone, I think makes people feel so much better. At least
Yeah.
that's what I've seen, because a lot of that, let's say in the TubeBuddy community, was I'm growing, I'm struggling, people aren't supporting me, I'm trying so hard, it's not coming to fruition, right? There's a lot of that frustration that happens when you're like, I feel like I'm putting so much effort into this thing and it's just not happening, and no one seems to understand it, no one supports it, no one says keep going. And every once in a while you need someone to be like, I see you, I recognize you, I also agree it's freaking hard, like virtual high five. You can do this. I can do this. Maybe let's just try it one more time, or let's try something new in this, and really takes the blinders off of the experience that you're going through of it being by yourself and so miserable.
I think as a YouTuber though, there's just like this whole different language. There are these moments that only somebody who gets it can celebrate with you. And if you were to go to somebody else and say, "Oh, I just got, held 60% retention on a video," they would go be, "Why does that matter? Who cares?" Right? And you even if they were like, "Wow, I don't know what that means, but yay, I'm just cheering for you." It still doesn't feel the same way. Like, that's not the moment that you were looking for in terms of, like, the high five. You might as well just kept it to yourself, right? Like, "Thank you," but it's kinda deflating. You talk to another YouTuber who is also on that journey, and to your point around the struggle, there's also this piece of, like, recognizing when a moment happens or a milestone for what it is. Other people won't get that. So for you to have the same language with people, that's the community piece for me that I see. In our community, it's showing up and throwing in the chat like, I just got approved for my HELOC, or I just crushed $8,000 in debt in the last 2 weeks, because of the last stream that we did. And people are in the chat like they get how significant it is, or I didn't even know that my bank offered this, but guys, I just went and checked it out. And then look what happened as a result. This is what my results were. And they get to learn from each other too and have access to information, but they get to celebrate. Inside of our group today, somebody posted they had won the boat, and they posted the picture of the stuff that comes in the package when you win the boat. And they're walking us through how it made them feel. And as they were walking to their husband for the first time to show him the video about the boat, and then be able to give him the boat, because I had sent her two, one for him and one for her. And even just those shares, I'm, of course, like loving it, right? My heart is so full, but seeing other people in the chat, whether they have gotten a boat, won their own boat, or they have not won yet, or they haven't had a chance to catch us live. Like, they joined our group and they've never even been a part of our of a live stream, right? They've only watched replays, because sometimes that can happen too. But watching them in there cheering each other on, like knowing how significant some of those moments are. It's the women who can't get their husband on board with these concepts, or the men who can't get their wife on board with these concepts. Like, there's a group in there. There's a group of singles who can't find anybody, and they don't want to date somebody who is financially irresponsible now that they're trying to, achieve a goal, and they believe something different about themselves. They don't want to date somebody who has a different ideologies, or their old ideologies, right? There's so many different types of people, but it's the same audience. So I would imagine for you've seen many of that being in different spaces within different communities. And I feel like there's not a framework here. There's nothing that you, like a lead magnet or a guide or a 6 steps. I'm sure somebody will try to make one. I feel like it's a privilege that you get to watch this happen. That's like part of the reward, is to get to see like not just where you fit inside of other communities and be able to start, because once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? Like I'm a part of communities I'm not leading. I'm just a part of those communities. Where is it that I fit and what are all the dynamics inside of that community? I feel like that kind of insight and that kind of perspective is a privilege that we get. But if you're not looking for that, and if you're not able to recognize that and come out of your own experience, then I think it would be hard to form a community and be able to appreciate even the smallest milestones. You may miss them if you can't if you can't have an open heart to be able to see that and kind of step outside of yourself in that way.
I think you had some great insights where you said like shared languages, shared experiences, shared recognition, and those, very, very much keys to building a community. So, Miss Angelique, we are definitely over time, but I would love to know, do you have any last minute words of wisdom, things you really want to share that you haven't touched upon yet when it comes to, how you're able to build such a thriving community and a loyal one, or anything you just want to share with the group? Floor is yours.
I think that last sentiment was it. You know, it's not about it is about you and it's not about you at the exact same time. But before it can't be about you, you have to start from somewhere. Before you can love other people, you have to love yourself. And if I could leave everybody with one last thing, it would be to love yourself. It would be to spend time with you before you spend time with other people. I think you'll get the most value out of that time. I think they'll get the most value out of that time. So what I wish for everyone is for them to be their own biggest fan, their biggest subscriber, the foundation that helps them continue to show up, the enoughness that they get to start with. And you don't have to wait to have that, but making that the priority over analytics, making that the priority over branding, making you the priority in that way, not the value, not how much is your time worth, not those types of things. I'm talking about the stuff that's scary, all of it being extremely worth it. You're worth it. And I think we all need to have more enoughness. So that's what I have to share. That's what I'll leave. I'm sure we could continue on, but I wish the best for everybody. And I am really looking forward to seeing other people's communities too. So if, come reach out to me and invite me into your community so that I can see what it is that you do. I'd love that.
I think that was a perfect way to end it. So, definitely, everyone, make sure I'm gonna. Sorry, my dog is coughing up a storm. I
Oh,
tried to
thanks,
mute too.
Adam. I didn't
But
know who was still tuning in. So thanks, Adam. Really appreciate that.
I will definitely come back and put the links to the book in the description, as was requested by Pixel Pia, and I definitely flash them on screen too, so it should be easier to come back and also see that. But big everyone, if anyone is out there still, let's give big round of applause because I feel like that was good stuff.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning
good
in. Thanks
stuff.
for having me, Shelly. I really appreciate being able to share this stuff.
Oh
I
my
think
gosh, thanks for coming.
we grow farther and faster when we grow together, and I wholeheartedly believe that. So, I appreciate opportunities like this to chat with you, and I always love chatting with you anyway. We could talk
I love
about
chatting with
anything
you. We
probably.
really can all the time. Everything from ChatGPT to building
Right.
communities. But we'll say goodbye to everyone out there. And then, Angelique, can you hang out for 1 second? And I will say goodbye to you secondly. All right, everyone,
Yeah.
have a great night. And we'll see you all in a video very soon. And her link to her and her husband's channel, as well as Angelique's Facebook page, are linked in the description below. If you want to connect with her, please do so. All right, we'll see you all later in another stream. Bye, guys.
Thanks for having me.